This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So in the last class, we have discussed about how do we create free account and what are the options we need to aware of to manage the services in Azure cloud. So let's move forward today. We're going to go into technical side from today onward. Just follow through. Ask as many questions as you have. Every class is like a workshop. We're going to run through a lot of practicals as we go on from here. Just follow through and you can start creating your free subscriptions here onwards to practice. At least you can start creating from tomorrow. So for creating any service, as we discussed, we definitely need one activated subscription. We need one resource group. It's a minimum. These two things are minimum to create any service that you wanted to create in Azure cloud. Activated subscription and one resource group. It is mandatory. And naming of like naming conventions, you must follow certain standards to build the names. If not, it'll become clumsy when your environment becomes too big. Identifying the resources will become very tough. So in order to identify the resources, you need to follow the certain standards. What we follow, if it is in our environment, if it is a like production, it start with the PP. If it is a staging, it will start with the SS in the beginning itself. It is a QA server, it will start with the QA testing server. It is development server, it will start with the DD. Then it will next two or three letters will indicate the location of the server. Development its environment, location East US, East US 2. Most of our servers are in East US, East US 2 in for our client, in fact. Then project, then server. So if you look at this one, this name, I understand that this is a development server and this server got created in ECS2 and this belong to EVR project and the server called first server for that project. So the name is giving everything. In fact, for every service you need to follow this kind of conventions. That's what we do follow. If anyone joins our company, we will simply say, this is how the naming standards. The new person can understand next immediate day itself, okay, what server it is, where it is created, what environment it is, and how many servers this project has. So a lot of information quickly can grab. If you follow certain this kind of conventions, it is easy to follow. You, People do give some random names actually, that something makes environment clumsy. So this is what we do follow. I mean, first environment, then location, then project, then server count. That's what is a convention we follow for every object that we create in the cloud. That way it is easy to find, in fact, basically. Okay. So conventions are important to follow, guys. If you don't follow the conventions, the administration will become tough down the line because of over a time you will see the huge number of resources you create, and when you have to work on particular thing, identifying the resource become tough, in fact. But when we use our class, when we do in our class, we'll use a junk name also only, like SQLVM01, SQLVM02, like there are junk names, but the standards are standards when you work in the real time. Okay, keep in mind. So first environment, then location, then project, the server. This is what we do follow in our environment. So in different environment, they might follow different thing, but this is one of the standard you can follow it to identify the resources. Next, the region where you have to create nearest to operation center. This must be inquired before you deploy the VM. Is it really in that region or not, the server what you're trying to create? If you create a server in a farther the region, the more delay will happen, right? So you definitely have to inquire the proper region where you have to deploy the resources. It's very, very important. Availability option, this is very, very important, guys. We'll spend really good time here. So availability set, if you go to availability set, there are two things in fact here. So fault domain, update domain. So what exactly these two? How it protects the VM? Let's talk about that with the diagram. This is very important, especially this will be interview question, and these configurations are important. So somewhere Microsoft infrastructure is also physical, right? You are connecting over the internet to the Microsoft servers, but somewhere it is physical. It has its own data centers where it has its own racking stacking system, in fact. So here I'm creating always on, assume a case, always on group. Always on need minimum of two servers, and both the servers will do the same job. Whatever the data you write here, it will reflect here. In case of this is gone down, this will pick up the load by automatic failover. It does automatic failover, and applications will connect through the listener. In fact, the underlying IP will get mapped automatically and redirected through the listener. This is a concept with the always on. So now, if I don't tag the server, if I'm creating the always on the VMs, if I don't tag the server under availability set, if I don't follow it under availability set, the probability of creating the servers into one rack is possible. You can end up creating the servers into single rack, both the servers. If the rack is down, rack is actually connected with the power cable and network cable, and one Hyper-V panel can manage this software wise. So power cable got damaged or unplugged. Our network cable is actually not responding because of something is damaged. Our Hyper-V panel software stuck or hung whatsoever. The entire rack is down. There are many hosts, many VMs on that. The entire rack itself is unresponsive for some reason. If that is the case, both the VMs of the AG are sitting in a single rack, and AG will be down because both the VMs are down. So you should distribute the servers whenever you need more than one server for any configuration. You must tag the servers under one availability set. It is mandatory. Whenever condition is for standalones, this does not apply. What I'm trying to talk, only for always on, where any other configuration which involves more than one server and all the servers do the same job. If you talk about load balancer, you'll have a load balancer. Behind the load balancer, you create the web server. So the load balancer will take the load and send the traffic to all the servers parallelly. So all these servers are doing the same job. In this case also, the availability set will apply. So when availability set is applied, what does it do? It will distribute the servers into different physical racks automatically. There is no extra cost for this, in fact. See what it is saying? If you look at this availability set, this will be none by default, okay? But you have to select availability set. It's your requirement. When you click on availability set, create new, there are two options that is showing up: fault domain, update domain. Fault domain means how many racks the servers need to be distributed. This West India can support up to two racks only, not three. US region can support up to three racks, three fault domain. What exactly the fault domain mean here? So I have two servers here, two servers. One server got created in the first rack, as you make it here. Second server will definitely will create another rack, maybe here or here. It depends on the next rack resource availability. If you talk about this is a first rack, second rack, third rack, and fourth rack. So this rack is full, this rack is full. Maybe second server can create in the fourth rack as well. These are all in the same data center. So AG node, first node is sitting in this rack, second node is sitting in this rack. If this is gone down for some reason, this will pick up the load. So this is actually protecting against unexpected events because of the software failures, because of the rack software, the Hyper-V panel failure, maybe network cable issues or power cable issues whatsoever. Even entire rack is down, your server is protected with the other rack. At least you are doing the distribution of the servers where the servers are doing the same job, right? Always on both the servers, you are adding more and more servers, still they do the same job. One will be writable, the others are readable. In fact, it will sync with all secondary nodes, will sync with the primary, in fact. So the kind of job all the servers do the same. So if you are creating four servers, as in my case, next server will go to here, next server will go to here. So servers will get distributed within the two rack, physical racks all the time. Okay, within the two physical racks all the time. So that's what is called availability set. Under availability set, update domain, fault domain mean, fault domain. Fault domain 2 means whatever the service you are going to create under that availability set is going to be distributed between the two physical racks. It does in the background. You don't have to worry about. Okay, availability set. This is one thing you need to know. Fault domain. Any questions on the fault domain? Is it clear? It is simple concept, guys. What it does, the availability set is a concept. Under that, you have two things called, one is fault domain. Fault domain, what exactly it do? It will distribute the servers physically into multiple racks up to whatever the like the region it supports. Here it is supporting up to 2 only, so it can distribute the servers, whatever the servers you are creating under the availability set. I'm giving VMAV set just for the sake, virtual machine availability set kind of. So I'm just giving a name, I'm just creating it, to click it OK. Whatever the service I'm going to create with the availability set, this one is going to be distributed to 2 physical racks. Okay, so if I'm doing that, I'm protecting the servers against the unexpected events, unexpected failures. In fact, there is one more concept called update domain. This is a little tricky to understand, especially update domain is 5 by default. Keep it 5 only, the recommended one. So let me explain with another paint, where here update domain, maybe I'll go to the server, update domain. Maybe let's go to the fault domain first. Follow this. If you don't follow it, please ask your questions, because this is important topic. You need to know it. So first server, if I'm creating first server, assume a case in the availability set. So first server, what is a default domain value should be kept. So uh, just a minute. What his question was, what fault domain value should be kept in the real time? 2 to 5. Yes, actually 2 to 5. 2 is something is a region specific. How many racks it can support to distribute, that is a region specific. You cannot do anything. If I go here, I cannot go beyond 2. This region only supports 2 physical racks distribution on the availability set. It does not. If you go to US region, it will support up to 3 maximum. There is no more than 3 anyway, but you can distribute the servers at least into 2 physical racks in this region, which is definitely a good thing to have the redundant hardware layer, right? You are creating a server, at least it is getting distributed. So first server, fault domain 0, update domain 0. Just follow this. I'll explain. This is a little tricky one. Then fault domain. Fault domain is straightforward. Update domain little tricky. This is one, 0 again. I'll explain. Don't worry. Not lock shipping. Lock shipping is a different story. That comes under standalones anyway. It only applies to always on. Right, up to 4. Then 6th server if I'm creating it. I'll explain, guys. 7th server also we are creating, as in my case. Right, right. So now every time you create a server, the fault domain, update domain will be assigned by default. That's how it is, because when you look at does the value depend upon the type of subscription? No, not the type of subscription. It is depends on the region, not the type of subscription. It is the region supported values what you see it. It's not related to subscription anyway. So here, if I'm creating first server, it will tagged with a 0, which means the first rack, and update domain is 0. If I'm creating second server, it will go into the second rack, which is 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. If it is 3, example, fault domain 3, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. That's how it is. 3 racks, the servers will get distributed. But here it is only supporting 2 racks. So 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. That's how the distribution can happen. At the same time, the servers will get assigned with the update domain. What exactly the update domain, how it is going to help basically? Update domain is something, if you are creating first server in the availability set, it is 0. Second server, it is 1. Third server, it is 2. Fourth server, it is 3. Fifth server, 4. So 0 to 4, again, it will start from 0, because update domain 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is 5 already. Again, it's starting with 0. So what exactly they're trying to do with update domain? It is an instruction to the Microsoft. This server is part of our availability set. Something is configured, a technology is configured on this. If one server goes down, other server should be available all the time. So that's what we are telling to the Microsoft by tagging the server under availability set. Okay, that is what we are trying to tell to the Microsoft. So here they will patch the servers. This is only for the planned events. Update domain is for the Microsoft. In fact, they do follow the update domain when they do the planned outages. In fact, they do the patching on the zero, both the zeros at once, these two zeros, and they restart the servers. Once they are online, absolutely fine. Then they'll patch the one, all ones. Then they'll patch the two. Then they'll patch the three. Then they'll patch four. So they do the patching in the update domain order, in fact. So whenever at any point of time, your all servers does not go down due to because of the maintenance. Because of the maintenance, your servers all together does not go down. Why? Because you created the servers under availability set and it has a fault domain 2, update domain 5 by default. So this number is indicating to them that okay, this zero they have to patch first or do whatever the maintenance planned events. It's not unplanned, planned events. They only touch zero. Once it becomes online, everything is fine, then they'll touch one. So what does this mean? At any point of time, you are one of the node is available, though Microsoft is performing their maintenance tasks. In fact, this will help the Microsoft not to bring down your all infrastructure. So when you create the server under availability set, the availability of the server is 99.9959 they are giving. This is something they are giving. The availability of the server is more. And this only applies to the group of servers, more than one server. If it is a standalone server, the availability set doesn't make any sense at all. It will be 0 0 only. So if they are doing the update, any patching on the zero, it will be down. There is no another alternate server to be available, right? So for standalones, you should not tag the availability set. For the servers which you create more than one, definitely you have to create the servers under availability set. Anyway, I will discuss this topic again when we start the always on with the cloud VMs. We're going to configure right from the scratch. Just a minute, some question. If we are configuring AG for 8 replicas, then 4 replicas configured in one physical rack, another 4. Yes, that's correct. Physical racks are supported only in Asia region. No, 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 no. Physical racks are supported in every region, but the number of physical racks, if I go to example, what is a like count it is supporting up to 2, because it is West India region where I selected. If I go to some other region, example East US example, if I go and create availability set, okay, availability set, it will support up to 3 racks. In fact, see, 3 racks. So the servers will get distributed into 3 racks. If I'm only creating 2 servers, having the fault domain 3 doesn't make sense again. Whenever you create more than 2 servers, the fault domain 3 will help. What's better to do?
So these physical racks are in the same data center, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely in same data center. It's not a
The
cross
same
region.
zone.
Yes, absolutely.
Can
What you
you
said is
explain
correct.
about this? Can you explain once again about this update domain?
Yes, I'll do that again. Yeah. So here update domain is for, see here, fault domain is like first server, first rack, second server, second rack, again third server into first rack, fourth server into second rack. So this is how the fault domain is only 2. So that's why the servers will get distributed into 2 physical racks. And update domain is 5 by default. If I'm creating 2 servers, 0 and 1, the tagging will happen automatically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 4. Why it is 5? Because the better the 5, the better the availability. If you keep only 2, it is fine. But if you create third server, what happens? If it is 2, then 0 1 0. This will happen. Okay. If unexpected downtime, fault domain is protecting the server, right? Your server got already distributed. Unexpectedly one rack is down, other server is absolutely fine in other rack. But update domain is about the planned events. We are talking about the planned events, what Microsoft do on schedule basis to protect their infrastructure as well. So in that case, they only touch one server which is 0 of update domain first. They will do the any patching or any downtime activities on the 0 first. Once that is fully done and it is made available, then touch the 1. So at any point of time, it is a planned event or unplanned event, one of the server is available for you for your configuration. You guys following? Say something, this is important.
Yeah, hi
Yes.
Ravinder. Both are different, no? Like a fault domain and update domain, both are different. So both
It's
should not happen at the same time. Number one, both are independent,
Yes,
correct?
they are independent. This is something is unexpected. Even Microsoft also cannot predict it going to happen, kind of. Right? One server, one
Right.
rack is down entirely. They don't know that. It is infrastructure. It can happen. It is a hardware. Hardware can fail at any point of time. So in that case, at least your server is there in other rack. So you are at least have hardware redundancy. One of the server will serve the application. Application won't be completely down. That's the motto here. Clear? Everyone, please. You guys clear on this or not? Fault domain, update domain.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
Ravindra, clear.
yeah, good. Thank you. Let's move on. So now I'm just going to go and create AVVM set. I'll change this. Okay, let it be US region, doesn't matter. So I'm just adding it with the two racks. Click OK. And I'm going to talk about security types separately in an accurate networking anyway. This I'm going to skip for now. Operating system. The cloud VM support two types of operating system. It supports Unix flavors as well as Windows flavors. Unix has a lot of distributions again. You have Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and you have Oracle, you have Amazon Linux. Even Microsoft also building one Unix platform called Mux. So there are many distributions, in fact, towards the Unix side. If you click on this, it will take you to all the images that you have in the cloud anyway. So whatever the operating system they might ask you, like you wanted a Windows 11 desktop operating system. In this also you have the 64-bit and 32-bit is are not given, which is good in fact. Enterprise and Pro. So now question. Fine. Go on mute. Someone is not on mute. Deepak, you have question?
Uh, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you don't have a question, guys, mute out. Why? Because it is recording, right? So there will be background disturbing sound. So now if you look at here, the OS families are showing up here. You look at the Windows Server, it has a huge list. What you wanted, you just pick it up. And you have Windows 10, Windows 11 desktop operating system. If at all you wanted a desktop operating system also, you can build it in the cloud as a VM. And Ubuntu, Microsoft Windows 7, CentOS, Red Hat, these are all like operating system families. In fact, what you want, what your environment want, depends, right? So you can choose from the wide variety of the operating systems that are available here. So here you see this one, how big again, Windows 365 cloud PC, something kind of. It is a cloud PC, in fact, a Visual Studio, which get uh, installed as a PaaS service, in fact. So, so here, generally for the cloud side, the VM side, we don't pick other operating system other than Windows for the SQL Server especially. So what we use it in our environment, latest on all the VMs are Windows Server to the 19 data center generation 2 VMs. This is what we use it for every server what we build now. And again, Azure Spot instance I'll cover tomorrow, not today. You don't understand. If I'm skipping something means today you don't understand. There should be some background discussion should be done, then I need to talk about it. That's why I'm skipping it. Then size. This is very, very, very important for us. If you're creating a VM and there are multiple families are available in the cloud, in fact, if you look at the F series, you have compute optimized, you see the E series, memory optimized and compute optimized, right? And if you go to the D series again, general purpose. If you go to this series, fully memory optimized, okay, and insufficient quota family limit. So general purpose, general purpose, general purpose, right? So you see the sizes of the VMs here. Here you see the general purpose, memory optimized, compute optimized, and graphic optimized. Come on, there's huge family of list here. In fact, you see the number of CPUs, RAM combinations here. high performance compute, and I'll explain this. Memory optimized. See, okay, just a minute. In our prod server is in generation, does there any change if we select Windows data center? Actually, generation 2 VMs are added recently. Don't worry about. You already created, you created. That's it. You don't have to worry about. Generation 2 VMs are available last 3 months ago itself. They made available. Before that, only generation 1 was available anyway. So now, see, GPU optimized. What exactly graphic processing unit, in fact, GPU optimized, memory optimized, compute optimized. What exactly these are? Let's talk about it actually. What to choose when. So if you look at the infrastructure wise in the company, how does the company will operate? A load balancer. All the time is a load balancer. They don't directly let you to connect your web server and do the job. In fact, your all the applications will get loaded through the load balance. That's a minimum configuration everywhere you definitely follow. This is a load balancer LB, and these are the web servers behind the load balancers or app servers. Okay, web server will give you the content. Okay, app servers will do the conversion of that request into the code. In fact, the code will be generated and given to the database server. So there are two things: web and app are different things. In fact, so DB server. So if you look at here, the connections can be out external or internal. Depends on the internal load balancer, external load balancer. We're going to see both of them. In fact, in practical anyway. So if at all, if it is internal or external, doesn't matter. So for the kind of architecture, all are hitting the load balancer. What does load balancer do? Load balancer will hit the web server. Web server in turn will hit the database server for data. So web server will give the format, just the web content, web format, the user friendly interface, and the data will be populated within the fields. And the kind of web page comes from the web server, the data come from the DB server ultimately. So if you look at the kind of architecture, web server need processing power, not the memory power. It is getting a request is given to the DB server to get the data. So it is not serving the data, it is serving the only web pages. So it need more CPU power where DB need more memory power. It need more caching, the better the caching, the better the response time. If less caching, it has to go to disk to get the data all the time, and reading the data from the disk is a delayed process. So the more RAM you give it to the database, the better the response, because data is available in the RAM, it is cached. So what I wanted to stress here is all DB servers should be memory optimized servers, which will get lower CPU, higher memory, combination. All web servers or app servers should be created with the compute optimized family. Compute optimized. If I go to here, there is family of computers. I'll just explain. General purpose computers are the cheapest computers compared to other families. Compared to other families, you have compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, GPU optimized, but general purpose computers are the cheapest computers that you have in the cloud, in fact. Okay, these VMs are cheaper. That's why all pre-prods we will deploy under general purpose family to save the cost, right? You wanted to save the cost, you have to go with it. Actually, this is one of the cost optimization method. You have to go with it. So general purpose VM sizes provide balance to CPU memory ratio. The VMs are used in testing and development. They made purposely, at cheaper cost, and these servers won't scale like memory optimized or CPU optimized. See, if it is a pre-prod servers, it is not given to the live customers, right? Maybe you might see the issue with the production server, with the pre-prod server performances are different, in fact. Why? Because this is a general purpose server, this is a memory optimized computer. So if you process the data in the memory optimized computer, it will be more faster. If you process same data in the general purpose with the same configuration, it will be less faster. That's how it is. That's how the server family is made already. You cannot do anything. So here, all pre-prods must be created under general purpose to save the cost. All app servers or web servers must be created under compute optimized, and all database servers should be created in the memory optimized. All data warehousing servers or NoSQL big data platform products should be created in the storage optimized. Storage optimized is like ultra premium storage, whatever is given. These servers are very costly. In fact, these are not cheap at all. Storage optimized computers are the ultra premium SSD drives, like solid state drives, which is equivalent to a RAM. Disk act like a RAM. That speed, right capacity, that disk will have it. So it is very costly VMs. In fact, it is not cheap at all compared to other family. So this is something on the high read write requirement. When they have it, we can go with the storage optimized. GPU optimized computers will get, we will create only when gaming application, visualization, like you are displaying photos, your maybe Amazon, you have it, Amazon Prime, Netflix, these kind of people, they load the data on the GPU optimized computer. The data is streaming from the server, and you need a better visualization on the video, right? And if you are building an application which is actually related to gaming, game also need a better visualization, better loading power. So if you want the better visualization, you have to definitely go to the GPU optimized computer, like Amazon Prime, Netflix, or anything that is dealing with the photos, videos, or anything. The content should be more crystal and clear on the moving objects, like, so that is where GPU optimized will be used. Okay, so you need to know that all database servers under production should go to memory optimized. All pre-prod should go to the general purpose. If you create a database server under compute optimized with a high configuration, it does not scale because it is not defined for that. They segregated the family for each different purpose, and you have to choose the right one. If you don't choose the right one, though you got a good configuration, it does not scale, because the family what you are choosing and what you are using for the purpose is different. So you have to be very careful on this side. What purpose you are creating the VM, you must know it. So as a SQL DBA, generally we do create for the production and pre-prod. So general purpose, memory optimized. Compute optimized, we don't create a web app servers or web servers anyway. We don't care about. So, but you need to know memory optimized for the production workload and general purpose for the pre-prod workload. So any questions on the computing family? Fine. Silence makes that you all understood. Fine. So now, if you look at, guys, this little, you see this one, the kind of combinations, and 20 CPUs, 160 GB RAM, 20 CPUs, 672 GB, 24 CPUs. The kind of combination you see this one under memory optimized. These are all memory optimized computers. In fact, you're choosing these many CPUs, this much of RAM. If you need a very big mission, we can do this. And the IOPS, the input output operation capacity here, right? So it can support 32 disks maximum, kind of. So you have a huge list of servers anyway. So, right, if I go to the generic B series, this is the cheapest family under general purpose. Very cheapest, in fact. If you go to here, it will display the cost of the VM also. When you're building the VM, what is the cost you are paying for it, right? Come on, this browser issue. I need to, right, if you see this one, B series, right, I was talking about here. Uh, scroll and to scroll like this to show you that, and the name and both are not showing up. Anyway, fine. If you just see this one, guys, come on, please. Right. If you see the B2, yes, 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM, how much you are paying for it? Here is one, 2,608 rupees. For entire month, if you use it, this is the amount you're going to pay. And this is 736, so 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM, 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM. And if you look at this one, the number of disks, 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM, the number of disks the VM can support, the number of disks you can add on top of the VM. Each disk can grow up to 32 TB in the cloud. One single disk can grow up to 32 TB, but you don't, build that big disk at all. That won't scale. The IO is very, very low. If you see max IOPS on this one, 1280, it is absolutely low. So this is a hard disk, in fact. It's like your computer hardware, hard disk, outdated hardware, in fact. It won't scale well. And there is a temporary storage will be given. I'll talk about this, and this is a cost. So you know that, what is a computing family, and which size you wanted to choose depends on the amount of data and what is the processing power they need it. We need to have a clear cut discussion with the application. So I'll go with the 1 CPU 1 GB RAM first, then I'll show you how do we scale whenever we want it. So this is about computing family, guys. Any questions? So there are many series in fact, and each series has its own kind of combination CPU and memory, right? And you have to choose accordingly as needed, the size and the CPU memory and the disk IOPS, what it can support. So any
So while
questions?
while creating the VM, like we have selected the general purpose. Later, can I move it to the computed or memory
Yes, yes,
optimized?
yes. At any point of you can move anywhere with a 2 minutes downtime. You can move it. Though you did a mistake, you deployed a database or in compute optimized, you realize later on, you can switch. Example, let's do that. Why not? Why to just talk about it? So I'm using this 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM. I'm selecting it. One local administrative account is mandatory to connect because the VM does not join the domain straight away. You have to create, login, and then join to the domain. So that's why you need an account to talk to the VM. And this one, inbound, this is something very, very important. Who can talk to your VM? There is a rule, it is opening it. There is a rule, it is opening it to everyone to connect. You never ever open anything in the real time, we'll go with the none in the real time. But here I'm going with the port opening to talk to the VM. I'm going to spend 2 classes on that itself, and how you can block the traffic, how you can open the traffic. We're going to see a lot of scenarios. In fact, you clearly get the idea how things really work networking side. Why the VM is not connecting, you can easily troubleshoot it. You can even understand yourself by looking at the rule set itself. I'll make you crystal clear on that. Don't worry. This is about it. Disk I don't talk today, and networking I don't talk today. I mean, because disk we will spend 2 classes, networking will spend 4 classes in fact. And for now, I'm skipping these 2 tabs. Don't worry. I'm skipping means we have a clear-cut discussion towards that. Tomorrow I'll start disks anyway. Disk operations. Networking we will talk in the networking only. Better. Now this is where we will talk about, and management advanced both will talk about. So here there is something called boot diagnostics. Actually enable with a custom account. What it does, when you enable with a custom account, it will write the, if a server got hung, for what reason it got hung, how do you know? When you enable the boot diagnostics logs, right, written into story account. So if you don't enable with a custom story account, certain features are not available on the VM side. So whenever you are creating a VM, create with a custom story account. That's what we do in our environment. There is a story account created for only for the VM logs. So we will select the story account, create the VM with enable with a custom story account. When you do this, it will write the boot diagnostic. What exactly the boot diagnostic? Booting the server. How does it boot? With the operating system. If the operating system is not booting, what is the reason it cannot boot? Generally it cannot boot because of the memory, it is not able to lock in the background, maybe CPU it is not able to lock, or it is not getting the resources what it has to. But where it got hung, what reason, you need to know that. You have to enable this. I'm going to show that how a VM, if it get hung, where do you read it, how do you recover it even if it get hung. So we have a solution within the portal itself. You don't need to go to the Microsoft. But anyway, I'll tell you the entire process, how we can take that option, or you take it, you cannot take it. We'll talk about it. For now, enable the boot diagnostics for the better troubleshooting of VM hungs. In fact, if it get hung and you need a message why it got hung, and okay. So next, identity management is separate topic for us. We're going to talk about identity management clearly in the Azure Active Directory migration. So these two I'll talk about when we start that discussions anyway. Don't worry about. If I'm skipping something, definitely there is a discussion. Don't worry. Auto shutdown. Why we need to shut down the VMs? Why we need to keep it online? We're going to talk about what is the benefit we're going to get if I shut down the VM and time to time. That we're going to see tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll cover this. I mean, we have a deallocation, shutting down, and online. There are three statuses we'll have on the VM. So what exactly the differences between them will be covered tomorrow. Backup of the VM. It has to be regularly, should be backed up. And then if in case of VM corruption, we need a VM to be restored from the vault backups. So basically, we don't do this kind of thing, taking the VM backup and recovering from the vault backups. But still, I'll show very quickly in off class. We will see that how the VM can be captured, the snapshots, how it can be built using the snapshot. Also, we'll see in the storage. This comes in the storage. And if you look at the guest operating system, how do you want it to patch your server? Is your Microsoft need to patch, or you yourself patch? In our environment, we will patch all the servers ourselves. I mean, our Windows team will do the patching all the time. Okay, they'll do it. And if you look at here, automatic this thing, Microsoft will do it, but they do follow certain window that you have given. They don't care about what deployments you have it. They don't check with you that I'm going to deploy this change on your VM and are you doing anything today? They don't care about. You are given a window, they'll do it. If you have any overlapping things, then your deployment you have to hold on. So important deliverables can be skipped out. That is the reason we are using manual updates in our environment. OS patching is absolutely we are doing ourselves. Okay, backup, auto shutdown, identity, these are all yet to be discussed. Don't worry. So extensions. Extension is a kind of a third party software. Your VM needed. Example, if you click on this, don't install it. When you're practicing it also, it will add extra cost to the VM. In fact, these are all some softwares are third party plugins. There will be an extra cost, which it won't show in the bill right now, but at the month at the end of the month, you will get the bill as separate. You use this third party software, and this is the bill for this period kind of. So if you click on this and hit next and create, and if I click it next, it will get added to the VM in fact. So it is asking, like what are the details that is needed for the extension. For the SQL Server, you never install any extension, don't worry. But there are extensions if people are really wanted, they do install. For SQL, you don't have to worry about the extensions part. VM applications contain the files that securely and reliably download and after deployment. In addition to this was not there. So preview means what? It is under review. I mean, see, there are three things we have. One is development and preview and live. Development means they're developing it. Preview means it is a well-tested, well-developed, and they wanted to give it to the market for testing. Till it gets into live, if the service is under preview status, you don't get the bill. It will be given at free of cost. Okay, preview services will be given at free of cost for the exploration. Like Microsoft is not fully confident yet to release as a live service. In fact, if preview is given to the, they developed it, tested it, they made the service available in the portal, but how it is really, acting it, how it is really working in the market, they'll take a lot of feedback and make the services online. So preview means it is developed and tested but not live yet. This is recently added anyway. Custom data, you wanted to run some PowerShell script or you wanted to run some code, here it will get executed. Generally for SQL, you don't need it. Then this is important, guys. Host, a physical host, dedicated host. So dedicated host cannot be used with availability set. Let me talk about this dedicated host. This is important topic you need to know. Azure portal. Pricing. Azure pricing, maybe. Let me see where it is. Pricing calculator. Okay, here it is, right? Compute, where is compute? Right here it is. Azure dedicated host. Here, this one. Actually, a rack. I said a rack, right? A rack is made up of a lot of physical host. Let me explain this. This is a rack. A rack has a physical server, big physical server, at least 2 to 3 or 4 up to 4 in a single rack. And this host will minimum comes with the 56 CPUs something, I guess. We can see the list anyway. If you go to here, a single server is coming with a 112 CPUs and 768 GB RAM. A single server you wanted to buy, you can buy this physical machine in fact. So what we are trying to build a VM. When we are building a VM is getting created from the physical host randomly. But I don't want this. I wanted to buy the entire physical host from this rack. It is possible. You're buying the physical host from one rack. I mean, if a rack can have multiple physical hosts, but here you're buying one physical machine which is dedicated for you and no other VM. See, if it is a VM, one VM is created for one project, another VM is created for someone else. It is possible. Someone else altogether. This VM won't interact, though they are on the same VM. There is a logical network integration to segregate the communication anyway. That is a different story. But in a single physical host, you created, someone else also created. It is possible. I wanted entire physical host to be dedicated for me only. You can block it. In fact, you have to buy in advance this one. There is no on-demand. Generally, you have pay-as-you-go as well, I guess. Right? You have a pay-as-you-go workload as well. But as an individual user, you cannot buy it. Pay-as-you-go workloads cannot buy the dedicated host because there is a limitation. You have to raise a case with the Microsoft. I need this machine. I'm going to pay, or else I'll pay on monthly rental, or I'll pay upfront 1 year, and you'll get the 41% saving. I'll pay upfront for 3 years already. See, this is another big thing you need to understand. Reserved instances. Reserved means you are paying as postpaid, like you're prepaid something. You're paying for the server and blocking it for certain time, like 1 year. You're reserving it. These are called reserved servers. Reserved server means you already paid. If I'm reserving for 3 years a server and I don't want after 2 years, if you even you don't want, they don't give you the money back. Reserved it. You paid it. Paid means paid. You don't get the reimbursement. You should have to analyze how long you wanted to reserve it. It is something you are prepaying for the host and blocking for that period. Even you don't want that host for that long, still you can, Microsoft will not do anything. They don't reimburse. You have to come up with your own reservation, and the reservation must be paid before. And if it is, that's why you see this one, 62% of the discount that you're getting it. So 544 actual cost, but if you are reserving for the 3 years, it is not even off. 62% actual the cost of the VM. You're getting very deeper discount, in fact, if you are reserving for the long time. But there is a terms and conditions. Even you don't want the host, your amount will not get reimbursed. You reserved means reserved. That's it. That's there. So again, what I wanted to talk about is here is there is a physical Azure dedicated host. You can buy it with the high capacity VMs. It is a direct VM, a physical VM, 100 CPU, 768 GB RAM. You wanted more, even more. See, 76 CPUs, 5G04. All combinations are available anyway. Like you have 4 TB RAM, 192 CPUs, 4 TB RAM itself. Okay, you have 10 TB RAM also, I guess. Yes, we should have. It is 5 TB RAM, 416 CPUs. So you need a very huge machine, and that entire machine should be dedicated for you only. Then go for it and block it. When you are blocking a big machine like this, 96 CPUs and 768 CPUs, from that physical machine, you can build your own servers. I have already bought a physical host. I'm selecting the physical host. Whatever the size I'm selecting, the size will be occupied from that physical host. See what I'm trying to say? I reserved a physical host. When I'm creating a VM, I'm choosing this physical host, and I'm choosing 2 CPUs and 16 GB RAM. So that will be used from this host for your VM. So you can only create VMs from this host, no one else, because you entirely blocked it. You guys following what I'm trying to say? Say something, guys. These are all important basic understanding. You need to know it. So it's a simple thing anyway. You already reserved a host and you already kept under your subscription. You can find in the drop down, select that, and whatever the size you wanted, you can go for it. But the problem with the dedicated host, it does not combine with availability set. Why availability set does not work with it? They cannot reserve you another physical host to have the availability. VM is fine, at least there is a rack, and where they are giving the VM, it doesn't matter. You are occupying the same resource. Microsoft is not actually having any issues. They are giving the VM here, the resources are same. But physical host, you cannot actually, if at all, even you buy also, they're not supporting it. Physical VM to physical VM, they're not doing the failover. VM to VM, yes, it is available, because they can randomly create your VM on one of the other rack. But physical host, you cannot get the availability set. You guys following what I'm trying to say? Say something, guys. Right.
Yes, Ravindra.
Yes, Ravinder, we are following.
Right, reservations, guys. Reservations, capacity reservations. We must do it if at all your project is going to run for longer time, for getting the deeper discounts. This is one of the good saving point for the companies. Some companies go with the mostly reserved instances only to get the deeper discounts. In fact, right, the longer the reserved instance you keep it, the better the discount you get it. So that's how it is. So then, proximity placement group. Let's talk about this. So this is one region I'm talking about. Okay, a region. India has 3 regions, right? West India, South India, and Central India, kind of one region. A region is made up of hundreds of data centers. It can be one data center, 2 data center, hundreds of data center. Anything is possible. But here, try to understand. Let me do this and then I'll explain what exactly the proximity placement group. Very important. If you don't do that, you will see very bad performance down the line. And proximity placement group is only available when you are creating the VM itself. So every project must have a proximity placement. We will call it as PPGs. One PPG, one project. It is a combination. One project, one PPG is mandatory. Okay. What exactly PPG mean? See, guys, one region. If you are not creating the server under availability set generally create the servers in the same within that one data center. It is within the adjacent racks, it is actually loading it. If you are creating a standalone, the availability set does not do anything at all. It doesn't apply. So when you create a standalone example, and here these servers are serving 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM. Okay, there is a data center dedicated for the VM sizes, and these VMs are supporting 4 CPUs and 8 GB RAM. Just assume a case. These data center are dedicated for the 16 GB RAM, 16 CPUs, 64 GB RAM, assume a case. Now I need to deploy a VM, application VM, assume a case. They deployed a VM, it got deployed here. Which VM for the application? For database server, you deployed here, a standalone database server. And one more database server you created, it created here. If you see physically, these are created with the too far distances. It can have a 200 to 300 miles, and this can have hundreds of, like there is no such thing that your server will get created nearest to this one. There is no guarantee. The servers will get created randomly based on the availability. It is random by default into any of the data center anywhere based on the size you chose it. But if you are creating a server under proximity placement group, if first server got created here, assume a case, first server got created here randomly, second server definitely will create here only, third server will definitely create here only. Why definitely here? If you look at this one, for this one, if I'm creating a server under this family, this size family, this is the nearest one. If I'm creating the other VM in this family, it is the nearest one. So what does PPG do? It will try to keep the VMs as closer as possible in the background. There is no extra cost for this. You have to tag one project, one PPG, and PPG can be explicitly created and then claimed when you are creating the VM. Come on, if you wanted to show that PPG, how do you can create? It is simple. So I'll quickly do it if you want. So how do I have a proximity placement group in my favorites? I can check like this, right? I have it. If I don't have it, what I have to do? If I don't have proximity placement group in my list, what I have to do? I'll go to all services and then I'll click on the proximity placement group and place the cursor over here, click on the star, it'll get added to your favorites. That's how you get it. So now I'm creating the proximity placement group. Every one project need one proximity placement group. So I'll tell you just where did I create that? Used to use, right? So app PPG, something, whatever it is. Just that's all you needed, nothing else. For the PPG, you don't have too much of information. Resource group, your subscription, the region and name, that's it. I can claim this. It is a region specific. One PPG is one region only. So if I'm creating in East US and I have to create the VM also in the East US to claim that. It's not a cross region specific, one region only. So I'm creating a PPG and that PPG I can claim when I'm creating here. All the PPGs will be displayed within the region. If I have to get this, I have to come from the beginning again. Then only I can get it. Was it created? It is created. So I'll claim it when I'm creating the VM. Let me, it is created already, this said, but it is still not showing it. Sometimes it takes some time to show up. Wait few, right, it is showing. Now I'm going to create the VM. I'm going to claim that PPG. So quickly here, we discussed this one, right? So naming conventions also we discussed. I'm going with the random name for now. I have to use the East US only to claim that PPG because it is created there, right? Availability set. If you want, you can go with the AVVM set. I'll show this anyway. That's why I'm doing it. After the creation, how it look like, and image to the 19 edition. This one default account is mandatory. So we'll start all the practicals from tomorrow onwards. The standards what we are trying to talk about. Family, we know that. Memory optimized, general purpose. General purpose for the pre-prod, right? And memory optimized for the production. Enable with the store account. And here manual updates are automatic. It's up to your environment. And advanced, here I'm going to claim the PPG. So here I can see the PPG. So what exactly it does? It will try to keep the VMs as closer as possible physically. See, one PPG, it's a PPG1 assume case. I'm creating the same server, another server under same PPG. It will create here only with the same example. This is 8 CPUs, 32 GB RAM, and this is a 4 CPUs, 8 GB RAM, 2 CPUs, 4 GB RAM. Size is what it's actually provisioning. So first VM got created randomly here. But second VM under the same PPG, if I'm trying to create, it'll create here only. Why here only? Because from here, this is the nearest one. This is not the nearest one, right? Compared to this one. So it will try to create the VM here. If I'm creating this size, from here, this is the nearest one. It will deploy here. It does not choose other two because this is the nearest one. So one project, one PPG, all database servers, application servers, web servers, whatever the service you are creating for that project should go into one PPG. So ultimately what we are going to gain, the servers are going to be provisioned as closer as possible. Due to that, you will get the better inter VM communication. They are closer, the better the communication, the faster the communication would be. You guys following what I'm trying to say? See something, this is very important, guys. The standards,
Ravi.
yeah, thank you. Standards are important. Without the standards, creating resources doesn't make any sense. That's why we are going with the standards first, then practicals. Now I'm going to create a VM. So it is how much the cost of the VM? 3 rupees 57 paisa. If I create the same VM in India region, it is 5 rupees. So same services, each region, the cost will differ. How does it differ? Based on the demand and supply. The more resources they have it, the less cost that they'll give it. Less resources and more demand, more cost. So same resource in each region, cost is different. They are not same. Okay, keep in mind. It's every region has a different cost model for same service. In fact, okay, that's how it is. Let this get created. I'll create one more VM intentionally to talk about that availability set. I quickly deploy it. Again, every VM will go to 3 stages. What are those? ISD, installation, submission, deployment. I'll quickly create this just to show that how the availability set tags the VM. In fact, SQL VM02, and I need to claim this under is to use to get the availability set as well as the availability set is created here. I cannot get this availability set in a different region. It is a region specific and data center specific. In fact, availability set generation is fine. Fine. So let this be as is. Okay. Let it be, not an issue. So here again, if I wanted to claim the PPG again, I can claim it. Because it is in the same region, right? It is picked up. See, this is what exactly the selected availability set in a proximity placement group. To use this, virtual machine must be, also be placed in the same proximity placement group. So when you have the availability set, proximity placement group does not do anything basically because already they are in the same data center. For standalones, the proximity placement group will do the better job. For availability set servers, by default, it will go into the same data centers. So that's something good. Now again, I would have shown, right? Okay, fine. The first VM got created. If I go to here, click on the virtual machine here, and you have the VM, it is running already. If I wanted to connect to this, I'll use the public IP. We're going to see that how we can connect with the private IPs without the public IP. In the real world, you don't keep the public IPs on the database servers. All database servers will run with the private IPs. When you have a private IP, how we can make a communication? That comes in the networking module. So for now, let's make the connection. There is a rule which is allowing us to talk to the VM. It is a see, you must do that. In fact, if you're not using the availability set, we cannot configure always on. You can. The problem is it is a prerequisite. They kept it. Actually, load balancer does not accept the VMs. Generally, it is a prerequisite. You must follow it. Without it, also you can create it, but that something is going to create. Okay, static dynamic. I'll talk tomorrow. There is a VM deallocation about. By default, you don't keep the public IPs and database servers. Okay, only private background. So we'll talk about it. I mean, I'll start that discussion tomorrow. What you're asking here, if you see two CPUs and 4 GB RAM, right? Two CPUs, 4 GB RAM, the size of the VM. Now, this example, this VM got deployed into wrong family. I wanted to rectify it. How do I rectify? You can rectify at any point of time with a minimal downtime, the general purpose. I wanted to go into the memory optimized. Basically, memory optimized computers are a little costly. So What is the smallest one? I wanted to pick it up. What's too big? All right, general purpose one here as well. Anyway, you can switch it to any family at any point of time. Actually, this memory optimized computers are damn costly. That's why 11,000. See, and okay, let it be. I'll do this. Not an issue. So now, what I'm going to do? I'm going to resize this. That's it. Resizing is going to restart your machine. It'll shut down, and it is shutting down. It takes 2 minutes, roughly 2 minutes, to get that resizing virtual machine. It's happening now. At any point of time, to any family, you can switch, and that's a good thing. Like any size, any family, you absolutely can scale. Scale up and scale down. Scale up means adding the more resources. Scale down means removing the resources. When do we scale up? When do we scale down? Based on the metrics, monitoring metrics. How you can look at that is again separate topic. There are many things, guys, we're going to talk. Right, it got resized. Now, if I go and make a connection, even you can see here, if I refresh here, standard E, it was actually B1 series, now it is E series, in fact. I guess the memory is not yet reflected here. I went with the 4CP 16 GB, right? Let's make a connection. It went to this family anyway, but let's see. B series family is the cheapest computer. When you practice, use the B series only. I would advise. All right, let's see. So here you can see the 16 GB and 4 or 2 CPUs only. Okay. So we scaled up to 16 GB. 4 GB it was, now it is 16 GB. So like this, you can scale it up whenever it is required. All right. So now let's go to the availability set. All right, here it is. It is there in my favorites because I added it. Okay. It's not there. It won't be there by default. So how does it look like? It look like this. How many VMs you created under this availability set? The two VMs. Fault domain 0 means one rack, 1 means another rack. Update domain 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If one rack goes down, at least other rack is up. And update domain, when they're doing the patching, they only do on the 0 first. And if it is absolutely done, then they'll touch the other one. So uh, during the planned events also, you have the one VM available for the applications, not entirely down, right? That's something absolutely good to have one of the VM availability. Next thing is, if you look at, there is a caching drive by default given in the cloud VM. That's something additional. What is a caching drive? Temporary drive. This temporary drive is given by the Microsoft at free of cost, which is a SSD drive, like a solid state drives. In fact, these are all super cost, but at the minimum size they do give at free of cost. If you go to here, properties and advanced settings, under advanced again setting, and under advanced, there is something called a virtual memory called PAE, physical address extension. We'll call it as a PAE, in fact. If your machine RAM which is of 16 GB, is fully occupied. It is under pressure. Then it uses this like a RAM. See here, a paging file is an area on the hard disk that Windows uses as if it were a RAM. Whenever your RAM is absolutely under pressure, it is being used, it will use the 3 GB of disk space as a RAM. Okay, the lower the PAE, there is a better performance basically, but this is something is bigger just because it is a solid state disk. If it is normal hard disk, this won't take this big volume in fact. So this machine will have roughly close to 20 GB in fact. It has 16 GB, close to 19 GB of RAM in fact. So how does this use this PAE RAM? When the machine goes into the memory pressure, you have the memory here and you have the hard disk. Under hard disk, some portion is actually reserved for the what? For PAE. Whenever RAM is absolutely under pressure, it will move the data here. It will call the data again when required. So it is swapping memory. We'll call it as a swapping memory. It is there in every family of machines. In fact, we will have using Unix flavors even in Windows also. Even if I go to my laptop, if I go to my laptop, let's see, I do have 8 CPUs and 32 GB RAM in my laptop. So if I wanted to see that how much it is SSD drive, in fact. Okay, yes, I can find under system environment where, okay, here under this, under here, right? If you see this one, I got 7 GB, 7.6 GB as like a PAE. Why this big? You can go and check in your laptops actually. It will be lower. If it is a physical hard disk, by default operating system will take based on the capacity of the drive, the read write capacity of the drive. The PAE will be taken by the operating system. I can change it to higher value, lower value. In fact, let it take what it is taking by the operating system. But if you look at 32 plus 8 GB, roughly 40 GB RAM I have on the machine. In fact, even this machine goes under memory pressure, it can use this disk as a caching drive, caching space. In fact, is a PAE. So PAE depends on the capacity of the drive, like read write capacity of the drive. In fact, okay, this is called caching drive, will be given on every VM by default, and which is a SSD drive will be given at free of cost. The bigger the size, the bigger the temp drive. Temp drive is something you should not keep anything in this. If the VM got deallocated, everything will be gone. What is the deallocation? When do we deallocate? And what are the situations we go for it? I'll talk about tomorrow. We have a discussion towards that direction. But you understood, right? What is caching drive in the cloud? If
Yes,
you wanted,
Ravinder.
Yeah, Ravinder.
if you look at this, where it is actually caching, you can see the drive letter also. In fact, where it is actually caching it out. So if you look at this one, this is where it is system managed size. This is where it is cached. If you show this one, it is not no paging. This is a paging drive, right? Out of this, if you wanted to set something, don't do this. In fact, I don't recommend. Keep it as my OS is taking it. It knows better the value. It is based on the operating system recommendation. It will have its own PAE, and PAE should not be higher. The lower is the good. Higher is not good. In fact, though you have see a RAM and disk is not same. When your machine is under pressure, what it does, it moves the data to the PAE, and when it calls the data again, PAE to load the data back to memory, give to the response to the application will be delayed. In fact, okay. This is also another culprit. SQL Server can go through the performance degradation. Why? Because you have too much of PAE enabled, and a lot of data is getting cached here. And then this data, when the application needs this data, it has to pull back from the PAE and then give to the application. Though you have good enough of memory, but it cached too much data and it is kept in the PAE drive. Some data where it is trying to read this data is get delayed. That will be delayed. There are many points we can talk to tune the system anyway, but anyway, this is one of the one. This should not be too big. Okay. And what else? Right. So there will be a question on this one. operating system drive. What is the size of the operating system? 126, but in fact, in reality, it is 127. This is frequently asked question in the exam. Okay, so keep in mind. What is the operating system drive size for the Windows? Is 127. What is operating system drive size for the Unix flavors? 30 GB. So these numbers are important. If you go to the virtual machine, if you go to click on the virtual machine and right, what I was trying to talk about, operating system drive, right? Yeah. If you look at here, it is 127 GB. So in the operating system, it shows 126 GB, but in fact, it is 127 GB. Okay. And can we expand operating system drive? Yes, you can expand. It is possible, but it needed deallocation. So this also into a question. You can expand up to 32 TB if you really wanted. Operating system drive also, but you don't keep anything on the operating system drive. You have to segregate uh, your product from operating system to some other drives. That is standard, right? Anyway, the standards I'll talk about. I'll build a golden VM, and using the VM, like all the standards will get deployed automatically on the new VM. So we will see that options. So tomorrow onwards, purely practical. I don't talk about theory anymore. Everything is a workshop. You have to follow it. You have to do the practice along with me. If you want to create the subscription today, you can create. If not, after tomorrow class, you have to create and practice, either of it. We'll go into the lot of practicals from tomorrow onwards. Okay. This is information you need to know it first two classes, right? So any questions? We're done. I mean, I wanted to start the practicals, but 10 minutes is not sufficient anyway. So at the end of the, like every practice you do, at the end of it, you have to destroy resource group. You never do this in the real time, but it is your personal. So you wanted to clean up to not to get unnecessary bill. Every time you practice, right after that, you destroy it. Recreating the resources hardly 10 minutes. Okay. You explore it, look at the outputs, and then close it. Don't keep it behind the scenes. If you're running the machine, you're getting the bill, as simple as it is. You wanted to control the bill, you have to destroy the resources right after your practice. Every day I do create the resources for our class, every single day. So don't keep anything behind the scene. Okay, it'll clean up everything. Tomorrow will be, tomorrow onwards we will run through a lot of practicals.